Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Could I have an adoption of the agenda if there are no changes? Abe? Motion, please. Mr. Cutler. Question.
Moved by Councillor Cutler that the agenda be accepted as presented.
All in favor? Approved. Adoption of minutes, May 23rd, 2023. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes for May 23rd, 2023 as presented.
Question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer that the regular meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2023 be accepted as presented.
All in favor? Approved. 3 delegations tonight. First up, Abe.
The RCMP, members of the RCMP are here with their Q4 report, as well as to provide some information on the Nanton and Claresholm hubbing project. We'll just turn it over to them.
Good evening, Council. Thanks for having us here tonight. So I'll just go over my Q4 report. This is covering January to March of this year. Just looking at that package. So at first is this letter that was attached to the package. And it's just detailing about real-time operations center that was implemented here a few months ago. I want to say it was implemented starting last year. So they work with our dispatch out of Edmonton. And the idea behind this is there's a sergeant or a staff sergeant always on duty in this unit. And if there's a big situation, let's say a grass fire, for example, they're able to get members from outside detachments to assist with that situation, leaving the local commander to deal with local logistics. So it kind of takes a lot off the plate. The other thing with them is if there's not a supervisor on duty on shift at the detachment, the constable can contact this RTOC and speak with sergeant or staff sergeant about what they should do with a particular file, or if there's an event going on, they can provide them assistance. And moving on, next few pages, just a couple meetings I conducted here in town. And then after that is our community priorities for Q4. So most of our priorities we exceeded. There was a few priorities that we fell short of, and this was compliance checks. And I know that was due in part to we didn't have a lot of people on conditions the last 3 months there. So it was hard, unless we're keep checking the same person every night, and then you get a person upset, and then you get a public complaint, right? So it's not feasible to check the same person every night and whatnot. Otherwise, we fell short in traffic as well, and that was, again, big part was, I'd say 90% of members weren't trained on laser or radar, so they couldn't do that speed enforcement. As I had said the last meeting, at the end of January, I had put on a course here in town, and all members between Claresholm and Nanton that were lacking laser and radar were trained on that. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to bring up the numbers here to full speed. So we ended up getting 255 tickets out of 360 tickets, which was our goal. We did do Operation Street Sweep at the end of March. So again, this is me bringing in members on overtime. They don't have to take calls. Their sole responsibility that night is to go out and execute outstanding warrants in the community, compliance checks, and then extra traffic enforcement. So with that, there was 2 warrants that were executed in the area. Around 30 compliance checks were completed, or not 30 compliance checks, sorry. Around 3 compliance checks were completed, and there was no charges. And then around 52 vehicles were checked during a check stop after that was all said and done. No impaired investigations or tickets were issued with that check stop, though, which isn't a bad thing. Next is our crime statistics. They're pretty favorable for this last quarter, but also keep in mind January to March is very cold weather-wise, and we see a reduction in crime when it's cold out. But that being said, we did have a few interesting files, namely with bombings going on in town. Thankfully, that ended up, I don't want to say it ended up solving itself, but it more or less did, with the culprits trying to make a pipe bomb and blowing themselves up in their garage, which resulted in injuries and then resulted in my members conducting a search warrant on the garage and doing their investigation that way, ending up in several charges on both the suspects in the file. And one of the suspects did admit to being a part of the bombings that were going around in town. Any questions about the crime statistics? Anything I need to go over? Okay. So next I'll go over to staffing. So right now we have 5 constables working, and Claresholm Detachment's allotted 5 constables. And then we'll go on this later, but still currently hubbed with Nanton, and Nanton's fully staffed with myself and 3 constables. Starting today, however, Corporal Sean Dutch, he's going to take over command of Claresholm until the sergeant comes, which is hopefully sometime mid to late summer. It's just some housing issues he has to deal with before he can come. But that will bring Claresholm up to 5 constables, and then Corporal Dutch will be in the acting sergeant position until the sergeant can take over. And that's it for the quarterly report. Is there any questions with respect to that?
Questions, concerns?
All right. So next I'll get into the hubbing. So it seems we had a meeting here, beginning of May, where we're kind of putting a reset on the hubbing for the summer, with kind of final decision being made in September. So there was a presentation sent out. Did every counselor receive it and review it if they did receive it? Yeah. So firstly, is there any questions with the information on that? Anything I need to elaborate on?
I don't think we actually got that forwarded out to you, council.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Would I have time to go over that quick, Abe?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll just breeze through some information regarding the hubbing here. So in 2019, there was a report done by the RCMP in Alberta. They hire an outside agent?
Yeah, they hired a retired officer from, he had worked with the RCMP for 30-plus years. And so they brought him back on a contract to do a study within K Division.
So it wasn't just a spur of the moment thing that we think this is a better idea, kind of. There was a little homework done on it. So hubbing involves pretty much the model we're looking at if hubbing does become a thing. Claresholm would be the host detachment, and Nanton would turn into a satellite detachment. What that means is pretty much we'd be operating the way we operate now. Claresholm would see the paperwork filing side of things taken down to Claresholm from Nanton, and Nanton would just be front counter operations.
Nope, wait, nope.
Okay. So that's kind of the model we're looking at right now. So there'd always be someone at the front counter, there'd always be an officer up in Nanton still. So advantages over hubbing would be less on-call for members. So less time where they're on their time off, but they might have to come in as backup for a member who is on duty. There's less of that. More unfettered time off for members, so kind of better mental health, not always working, right, is kind of the idea. One of the big pluses to it, I think, is the ability to attract experienced members to the area. So with the hubbing, you create as I said, less on-call, but you also create a better shift schedule where members are working less and they have more days off, just based on sharing the manpower between the two detachments. So that's going to hopefully generate experienced members wanting to come. There has been an issue lately with smaller detachments because usually members are always on call, they're working a lot. A lot of the time, smaller detachments are usually staffed by cadets, unfortunately, because it's not desirable for an experienced member.
And just in regards to working less and getting more days off, it's not, they're working less shifts, but
Yeah.
the shifts are longer. So instead of working 8s, they could be working 10-hour shifts. So you're still putting in the 40 hours a week. It's just over a shorter period of time because you have more members to work with.
More members on duty, allowing quicker backup response instead of waiting for your backup to come out of their pajamas if they're on call. And easier to conduct training, cover for leave or sick days, and different shift options that could be changed with the needs of the community. So with the hubbing, it provides opportunity for a bigger fleet capacity, so more police vehicles between the two detachments. So if one vehicle breaks down, we're not in a pinch trying to find a vehicle to replace that vehicle while it's getting fixed. There's increased supervision because you go from Claresholm having a sergeant and a corporal, and Nanton just having a corporal. So you go from, let's say, Nanton just having one supervisor who's only working a few days, Monday to Friday, let's say. You'd have one of the corporals, let's say Claresholm corporal, working on weekends, so members would be able to seek supervision from that corporal. In essence, a supervisor would be always working, if not working more of the time, between the two detachments. It's an increase in your detachment commander would now be the sergeant in Claresholm, so that brings more experience. And then instead of Nanton having a corporal detachment commander, which is generally a junior NCO's first supervisory role, right? And then we'll go over potential risks of the hubbing. So smaller detachment, Nanton changing to a satellite detachment, might lead to a community dissatisfaction of potentially losing, I guess, their RCMP detachment. Yeah, their identity. Not that the detachment would go away, it's just losing that identity.
Yeah, and to clarify with this, we're not planning on getting rid of the Nanton building. Like, we're hopefully gonna get a better building in Nanton,
Yeah.
but there'll always be a building in Nanton for the members there, so they're not gonna lose their identity that way. we're gonna keep it the same, but we are gonna meld the shift schedules together, and then the commander will be overseeing both detachments. So it's kind of a joint effort, and it helps on both sides with the extra members and extra coverage.
Yeah. Other risks are, and I know I've noticed this, is fuel and vehicle maintenance costs have gone up quite a bit just because we're always traveling back and forth between the two detachments. Some members might not welcome the idea. I can honestly say about 99% of my members are in favor of the decision. A lot of members have children and family, and they like the current schedule. They're not fans of, if the detachment's separated, being on call when they should be at home taking care of their children and so forth.
It'll come back.
That's kind of about it for the presentation. There's a couple, I guess you'd see an increase in police visibility, easy to cover off shifts with multiple members, which we're seeing now. I recently did a schedule change at the end of March, and more often than not now it's about 2 members in Claresholm every shift and 1 member in Nanton every shift. Obviously due to sickness and leave that can fluctuate, but for the majority of the time both detachments are well covered. Yeah, that's about it. Tim, if you have anything else.
Yeah, and I think the diary date that we gave, that we got together to go to September with this, it's the metrics that we're gonna be using, whether it's a success or not. There is some, it's tough to come up with some of the metrics. I think call response will be definitely one of those metrics to see if that increase or gets better. The sick leave, to see how many hours are lost to sickness or holidays or training or anything like that, just to show that having, what's the total between the two, 11, 12?
Be 11 members,
11.
yeah.
So just to see the benefits of having 11 when you've got 3 people on either on training holidays, or because the summer is always busy with holidays and stuff, and you'll see the benefits of having that many more members working together rather than 2 separate pods. You're still going to have the coverage for the zones and the visibility as well. What other metrics were we talking about? I don't like.
The other one was like assisting with community events between the 2 detachments.
Because one thing that we're gonna be dealing with is, talking to the new commander that comes in, we're gonna be driving home that this, in order for this to work, both sides have to play in the sandbox nicely together, and both have to attend either community events, get more visibility out there from us, so that the communities know that we're around, and it can't just be Claresholm members doing everything in that, or vice versa kind of thing. It has to be both coming together and working together. And the new commander, I've talked to him several times. He seems to be very, very community orientated, and it comes with a good report card from his last commander as well. So I'm looking forward to him getting here. He's got a lot of service and a lot of experience. I think he had 10 years to my service, and that's about where he is. So he's got a lot of time in the rank too. So it'll be good. I think that was about it. Is there any other metrics that you can think of that you'd like us to look at that's quantifiable?
Councillor Cutler.
So we've been having this conversation over the last little while about this hubbing process. I know us in Nanton had a few concerns in regards to logistics and the quality of presence in each community. So this hearing now that there's going to be 2 members on staff and 1 member on staff in Nanton at all times, so we're not traveling back and forth to cover each town's going to have its RCMP staff member on staff at all times? Because that wasn't kind of the process before. It was kind of covering off both communities, right?
It was, yeah, it was we were on a 10-hour schedule before, and then I switched it to a 9-hour schedule, and I can't really explain how the math works, but it ends up members are,
It's 4 shifts a month.
yeah, 4 shifts a
You
month
gain
more.
4 shifts a month by turning them to 9s rather than 10s kind of thing. I think it's 3.8 or something like that shifts. And so you spread them out a little bit thinner kind of thing, and you get more coverage that way. When we say one person needs attachment, if Claresholm gets a call in town here and they're tied up and there's another call in town, then the NAP member is gonna be coming down and vice versa. You're still gonna be covering the whole area with both members, and where the work is, they'll be kind of thing, but we're trying to work so that both of them are on shift or a minimum of 2 at any time.
Right, so when we talk about that kind of matrix, there's going to be a good chunk of time if Claresholm responded to Nanton, that Claresholm won't have RCMP in town because we're hubbed with Nanton.
It depends on where the members are though, right? I mean, if the NAP members are here doing the exhibits or lodging prisoners or anything of that nature, or running a show cause hearing, they're gonna have to be here. They can't be in Nanton. If that's happening, then we would send the Claresholm guy. It would be expected that they start making patrols north of Claresholm.
Right. So we've been doing this pilot project for over a year now, correct? We've been hubbing as a pilot project for over a year now, 3 years.
It started in spring of 2020, I believe.
Right, so when you talk about stats and these matrices and stuff like that, have you seen a great difference? I mean, I get it that it's a good career thing that everybody gets more time off, and mental health's very important, and we don't want to wear out our RCMP, but are the numbers supporting this hubbing thing, or is this on the actual paperwork?
It does support it, in that if you, when you talk about January, February, and you have 2 members for over a month, which would have been those other leftover members, the other 2 on call for 24/7 for the full 2 months. So that way it gives them a break, and it still allows to give more coverage in that area as well, right? When they're on their downtime away from on call, you have Claresholm members up there working. And same here, we've got, like right now, we've got one on the fires, one on holidays, and you're down a corporal and a sergeant right now because of retirement and transfer. So we're having to cover off the numbers here.
And I apologize, what was your name?
Tim?
Tim, are you from Nanton?
No, I'm actually from Airdrie.
Okay, perfect.
District.
Because my biggest concern, one of the things that we've had talks about and discussions about, and people from the community talk about, is we've got dump loaded onto this cost of the RCMP, and then now we're going to find that we just want to make sure the citizens are getting what they deserve, right? We want to make sure that there's going to be a presence of RCMP, and I mean, can't compare apples and oranges. You know, if we got RCMP out of town, we don't have an ambulance in town half the time. Now you don't have RCMP in town half the time. So to understand the logistics and the reason around hubbing to make it better for the community is where I worry.
I think with or without them, you're always going to have members in town. If you've got one member on the Claresholm detachment, bordering on Fort area,
Right.
at a traffic accident thing. So
Right.
what we're trying to do is bulk up the numbers on shift at one time kind of thing. And we can, from as to where they're going to be within each shift kind of thing, we have to be where the calls are. So we're trying to do that.
Okay.
Give you more bang for your buck. Some communities, it doesn't work for them, and we're fine with that. If that's something you don't want at the end of this, and we're setting September as that's the time when we're gonna decide, then we're not going past that. We're not gonna, this has been on a way too long already.
Right.
And so we wanna make a decision at the end of that, and then go forward with whatever that decision is. But we wanna give it an honest effort too, so that we can really start tracking.
And we do really appreciate all the work. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of in and outs and a lot of meetings and stuff like that. We do appreciate it. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, because when we started talking about different, it wasn't sounding as similar to what I thought it was before. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to touch on your point there, Councillor Cutler. So in the schedule, if it does so happen, let's say a member who's supposed to be on shift is sick or on leave, and let's say there's only 2 members on in Claresholm, one of those members would be expected to go for that shift and cover Nanton. So you'd still have an officer in each town.
And vice versa. I think there's been
And
shifts where
vice
there's
versa,
been
where,
2 members on
yeah,
each shift.
we'll send someone down.
To make sure
Yeah.
that they're on.
Councillor Kettles.
If I could offer a metric or something to look at with this, I mean, you mentioned that there is some back and forth, or a little bit more back and forth now between Nanton and Claresholm than there was. Certainly that back and forth doesn't always have to be up Highway 2, so there'd be an opportunity for some real crime watch, some reduction that way, and I think it'd be worthwhile maybe just looking at that a little bit and see if that's handled better, or if there's any kind of significance there that can, offset the additional gas, and certainly I understand town of Nanton's concerns, but there's got to be some balancing factors for it in its favor, and to me, that just strikes me as one that a little more visibility out and about.
And Dean and Stavely are quite often saying that this is better for them because there's more presence in Stavely and there's more, so they're pretty pro for it, so it has improved, it has helped that.
It does.
It's not like they're just driving having a coffee on the way back to Claresholm. It's
No,
actually, so
because I
it's-
know a lot of members, when let's say it's a Nanton member who had to back up a Claresholm member down here, on their way back out of Claresholm, they'll usually do a drive-through Stavely, right? So it does help those smaller communities in the area.
Any other questions? Concerns? We're good.
All righty. Well, thanks again, council, for having us tonight. It was great presenting to you, and we'll be in touch.
Just one more brief thing. Property management is going to be coming down and doing a bit of a tour of the attachment here in town, and they are planning, it is #1 on their list for replacing. So they're probably going to be starting to look for replacement for the new attachment and stuff. And it's getting the ball rolling this year. Probably won't see anything until probably next year or the year after, but it's at least getting the ball rolling. That building is, that's the first attachment that I worked in Saskatchewan, the same exact building. Right. And it was built 50 years before I got there, so. There's a lot of history in that building.
Yeah, there is.
There's probably a bomb shelter too.
There is, it's in the basement.
Yeah.
It's of the age.
I don't need a tour, thanks.
Thank you.
You've already seen it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Delegation 2, Abe.
Yeah, we have a request for a delegation from town resident Bonnie Henry, looking to discuss council meeting regarding ethics. Bonnie?
Do you mind if I just approach council to give copies of what we're going to talk about?
Sure.
After having Thomas sitting here, you might have to move that speaker. He surely does. I met him when he first came to Nanton. Nice gentleman. Well, I thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the council and the administration here, for setting aside this time for us to bring our concerns to you in a delegation. Other than Craig, I don't think any of you have ever met me. Craig, I think, remembers me from a while back. But my name is Bonnie Henry. I grew up in the Nanton area and graduated high school here. After losing my husband, I sold my house at Nanton and put everything in storage, and I'm currently with my daughter and her family here, looking for a permanent home I'd like to purchase, so it's upcoming. So my connection to Claresholm began in my high school years, and my parents resided here for many, many years. I come before you representing a small delegation, but a number of people who we have spoken extensively about this. And I come to you with our concerns and our disgust regarding the use of vulgar language, name-calling, insinuations, in relation to your mayor, who is now making changes, Chelsea Petrovic. And this happens on social media. Unfortunately, some of the posts and concerns border on unethical behavior and also border on bullying, defamation, and are downright inappropriate in nature. As a councillor, you all represent our community as a whole, and this is how we want to be viewed? I don't think so. There is no question that we all have a right to freedom of speech and opinion, but the manner in which one expresses that opinion reflects on our town and beyond its borders. As election time rolls around, a councillor's past behavior will influence the choices the electorate will make. Chelsea was duly elected by our residents. A majority of voters chose her democratically to hold the position of mayor. And now, she has been democratically chosen by our constituency to represent us in the legislature in Edmonton. By a sweeping majority, the electorate chose her after meeting and considering all candidates. We have the choice to act professionally and maturely, to recognize this choice, or at the very least, to be appropriate and dignified in our dissension. The package provided to you is for your individual consideration. I wonder how you would deal with having this directed at you. This has been brought to the attention of more than one councillor at previous times, and now we feel strongly enough to come out and have this noted in the minutes, as well as it may appear in the Claresholm Press, that a delegation of disgusted voters came out to say Claresholm deserves better. As you, as a councillor, I understand, basically self-regulate this type of behavior amongst you. It's brought to you, and you make your choices of how that will be done. So I ask that these complaints, please take into account the language, the tone, the insinuations, and make sure that what we're putting forth out on social media or in our speech in the community is a reflection of the dignity that is held within this, that should be held within this council. I have beside me Nikki, and we've been coordinating some of this, and I know that she has a few things she would like to say as well. So I'll thank you for taking my time, and I'll turn it over to her.
Well, I don't get to choose council because I don't live in the town, but Triple T pays taxes, and we buy a business license, so I figure I have every reason to stand up here and speak. In the town of Claresholm bylaws here, 8.3, it says no member shall use incident, abuse, or insulting words or expression towards another member, administration, or any member of the public. 8.2, members shall treat one another, administration, and members of the public with courtesy, dignity, and respect without abuse, bullying, or intimidation. 10.3, members must not use the position of councillors to benefit oneself or any other individual apart from the interests of the town, and avoid placing oneself in position where there may be a real or perceived conflict of interest or apprehensive of bias. I've talked to a few people that about running for council or mayor, and people have said, why would they put themselves in the position when they see this happening and nobody's policing it?
And there have also been a number of the people in the community outside the town who didn't feel that they have a right to come to council to say anything. But we also were reminding them that this is their town. This is where they send their kids to school. This is where they buy their groceries. This is where they purchase their gasoline for their vehicles, and where they participate as a part of a community. And they're seeing this. I'm going to be right honest with you. Before I came to Claresholm, and Keith, I'm going to single you out, sorry.
That's okay.
Keith's social media with regards to the COVID, and that was very offensive to me. Because he has very strong opinion on who should and should not be vaccinated, and how those people should be treated, and death was the best solution. So I blocked him completely not knowing that at a later date, I was going to be coming down here, looking to be in this community, and that I would again encounter the same type of things again on social media. And I'm saddened by it, because I chose Claresholm, because I had connections here, because my family lived here, because it was an all-around community that had more things, more availability. They have the hospital, they have more, there are more opportunities for me to do some volunteering and to be involved in this community for me as a widow. And I'm saddened to think that we are attacking our own members in our community in such a manner. My ask of you is, please return this to what I believe to be a place that I would feel welcome and that I would want to welcome as a part of my life.
I guess my next thought is, it's pretty hard to say. I've talked to a lot of business owners that would maybe want to come to town, but why would they come to town when this happens? The town's dying within. We have problems, and this isn't helping it. And we can't have people hiding behind a cell phone and then deleting it and no accountability.
The thing is that on social media, once it's out there, in 5 minutes, it's out there so far that there's no recalling it. And then people are justifiably aggravated, or whatever you want to call it. So they're going to Snapchat or take pictures of that. They're going to save it, they're going to retain it, and they're going to turn around and pass it back out again. And we need to not let social media be a tool that can be used against us. And part of that comes with the integrity of making sure that what we put out there doesn't reach that type of, that where somebody wants to do that or feels the necessity to retain something like that.
And I think it's an absolute disgrace when we hashtag other media people and express your opinions like that, and that reflects on the people of Claresholm. Everybody elected Chelsea, and this is how we act towards her. This is pretty disgusting.
I believe nobody here would say that Chelsea isn't a young woman stepping into a big job. But as a community, we have that choice. We can support her, and we can help her go forward and do a good job, or we can just beat her down from day one on. Does that help us? Does that make anything better for this community or for our constituency as a whole? It doesn't. So again, I ask, if you dissent from her, the fact that she has been elected into that position, please use dignity and maturity and how you deal with it on a public face, whether that be social media or on the street. Opinions always will be there. Freedom of speech always will be and should be. But dignity and maturity is something that we choose. And we need to choose well.
I think the town needs to, it needs to run like a business. And so we're to say, Keith, if you worked for me, I'd fire you.
And sadly, I haven't been in, Keith, your restaurant was one of my favorite places to go. I used to bring my mom in there sometimes twice a week, and I haven't been in that door since. And I want to feel welcome in that door. But, everybody, we're singling Keith out, but everybody, every one of us has, including myself. I have opinions. I'm on Facebook. I'm on social media. And sometimes I have to see what I wrote and go, no, that has to be deleted. I can't post that. That has to be worded differently, or or I have to walk away from it because it's not appropriate, it's not the image I want to give. Nikki, did you have anything else? I think that's great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Delegation 3, Abe.
Rose Pitek would like to talk to council about CRAZ, the Calgary Regional Airshed Zone.
Thanks for giving me the time to present this to you tonight. As you're probably well aware, I watch what goes on with council all the time, whether attending council or the online meetings after, and I really appreciate that's available to all the people in the community. I'm hoping more will take part in that moving forward. Today I'm here about Claresholm's air quality reading. I'm not on Facebook or social media, but on the internet, I had found on May the 16th, there was a reporting of an emergency air quality reporting for Claresholm, that the Facebook post that was provided, I'm not on social media, but it was provided within that information, said that Claresholm was at 430, Calgary was at 320, and Lethbridge at 184, and that the air quality index above 300 is considered severe. So the posting on the internet was, seek medical advice if you have respiratory distress or anything like that. But it did code Claresholm as the most severe in southern Alberta. And the response to this Facebook post was from a lady, and I did provide the information to you in regards to that, of who posted it. She had wrote on there that, wow, does that mean you're back to wearing masks? This is terrible news. So that was her response to the severe air quality reading from Claresholm. So I just want to bring to your attention, I'm not an expert on air quality readings, but I do have enough information to bring attention to this issue because it singled out Claresholm as a severe warning area. So I phoned around to see how are we supposed to respond to this? Is this from fuel trucks going by, or is this from the smoke, or is this from a gas release somewhere, or how do we know what we're worrying about? And nobody knew. They just said, oh, we just collect air particle sources and that's all we know, it's severe. So let's throw the fear out there, but don't give any response to people how long it's going to last. Wind in southern Alberta turns over every 15 minutes. Don't worry about it. Nothing like that. So we've had enough fear in the last 3 years as far as I'm concerned, especially when somebody's response to Facebook is, oh, are you guys wearing masks again? Because I did see people wearing masks in the community that week, and I thought, is COVID back, or what's going on? But maybe it was them responding to this. So apparently there was some messages on Facebook from the town of Claresholm. I'm not sure where the instruction from that came from, or if it was instructed, or if it was just, personal intent to help people out, to make them aware that there is a severe warning out. So getting back to that, back in August 15th of 2022, at a regular council meeting, there was correspondence dated June the 22nd from the Air Quality Management to the town of Claresholm. It was providing a management toolkit for municipalities for the 2022 Calgary Region Airshed Zone, which is called CRAZ, C-R-A-Z. This is a volunteer organization that provided and brought this toolkit forward to the town of Claresholm. Now, in response to that the town's review, when the CAO brought it to their attention, Abe had mentioned it's a very lengthy report, 72 pages, and if council would like an actual summary of how this would relate to Claresholm, we'll take a motion or accept it as information. And it was at that point in time by council decided to take it as information. That was the response at that time. I have to ask you today, is anybody aware of any more conversation within council in regards to accepting this toolkit? Can I ask Mr. Schlossberger?
We have a volunteer who sits on that board, and if there was anything to report, she would report back to us.
So are you leading to the statement that you took action in regards to this toolkit as a town council without the council's, moving
Council,
through motion?
So in regards to that, we do have sensors that we put up in a couple, we've investigated, we've indulged a lot of hours into this air quality process. Now, when you want to talk about, we'll take his information, okay, 19 hours a weekend I spend reading this information on my time to be prepared for these meetings. So when you see us say we'll take that for information, it's because we've already spent 19 hours focused on that. So to have Abe summarize that on camera for 25 minutes isn't that we're passing it off, isn't that we're not indulged in that process. We spent a weekend going over the 118 pages that we get with every town council. So it's not like we're not listening to it or not reading it, it's just that there's no sense, all 7 of us up here take the time to make sure we have the proper information, right? So we are updated in regards to the CRAS. We are in touch with them on a regular basis. As far as Facebook posts, we have staff that are on staff to put out those warnings that if there is a higher quality, to make the recommendations. We have a process and a policy to make sure that that information is getting out to the community. So it's not like we're not involved, it's just we get a lot of comments of take that for your information and we move on from something so quickly, they make a decision without a discussion. The hours that we put in outside of these 1.5-hour meetings is where a lot of this information decisions are made. And we hope, as an elected official, you trust us that we're not sitting up here saying, we'll take that for information, we'll pass that along without the proper process. We spend a lot of time on this information, and it's not something we're just sweeping under the carpet.
I'm surprised, though, with Robert's rules, is that what you follow here? In regards to motions and take for information and stuff? Would you not have made a motion accepting the CRAS report that you will reference a policy that actually, like the CAO asked, like, would you like a summary of how this would relate specifically to Claresholm? Did that take place? Like, was there a motion made that you want to follow up with this CRAS toolkit and follow forward with that? And if there was a reporting on the internet or Facebook about severe, air quality, then who would anybody from this area contact to see what are we supposed to do about it? Are we supposed to stay in-house? Are we supposed to go our doctors? So do you have a policy in reflecting what you're doing with air quality in Claresholm since the sensors have been put up? And are those sensors appropriate for reporting emergency action from the people in the constituents? Because I did provide you a document here that said these are low-cost sensors measuring particulate matter, and on the bottom of the page, it says, while readings from these sensors currently can't be used for official political statistics or data, they provide a general idea of the readings in the area. So is that what we want, to make people fearful from our air that recirculates every 15 minutes in Claresholm in southern Alberta? That's...
Who put out the warning of the 320? Who put out the warning of the 320?
These people, the purple air.
Right, the purple air crowds?
Yeah,
So they're using this, that ours, like we've been in the meetings with these people, use this as a base, a study, what's the word I'm looking for? A trial?
Yeah.
Right, to look at, because you're right. You guys said it right off the bat. We can't tell whether it's the trucks going through town, whether it's the feedlots on the south end of town. We can just tell that there's an air quality problem. What good is that going to do us to tell us an air quality problem? Alberta regulations put out a warning, hey, air quality's bad, you feel under hell, call your doctor. How do you call your doctor? I don't know what the town is supposed to do besides saying that this warning is out there, because we don't have the data to say it's because of smoke from BC. We don't have it's because the wind's coming out of the south and the feedlot. So really looking at the air quality control, we've taken every step as a council to find the resources to utilize what's out there to use. What they're doing with those stats or what they're doing with that process is putting it back to us in a way that we can look at it. And if it's not good for us, then there's low quality air sensors, which is what they are, because it's a trial.
Yeah.
Then we look at other ways that we can help manage that. But as far as raw rules and those types of things about information, we get information that comes to us about the process. We get updates on the pilot projects that we're using for the air quality control, and those are all done within different council meetings. I mean, we have 18 different in-house committees that we sit on, that we have to go through this process, and we rely on each one of us who sit on those committees. So those committees are making suggestions and recommendations that come back to us, right? So we are following the process, we are following the information, we're making the best decisions we can with the information we have provided to us. But as far as the town putting out the weather's bad, don't go outside warning, I don't know how that air quality stuff is within our control. I don't know what else we can do besides the information we have available to us.
So, if I may. I think the major concern that you're speaking of is the information that's gathered for the area. Is the town of Claresholm in a position where they're going to create different regulations within the community in order to help aid air quality?
Is that a question? Is that a question?
That's
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah, and that is my presumption,
Yeah.
because that's what the CRAS tool indicates.
Yeah.
In the
So-
72 pages
so-
as to.
So
Yeah.
the toolkit hasn't necessarily been adopted for anything within the town of Claresholm. All we've done is agree to put up an air sensor and let them collect data. So somebody like myself who is asthmatic, or somebody that's got a respiratory issue and may be on oxygen, might want to take extra precautions if they've got windows open or whatever. It's a basic tool that can help aid in that, so they've got more regions of air quality measurement. But as far as the town taking action with anything relating to it, the town has no interest in taking any action. It is strictly to say, we'll let you collect data from this sensor and we agree to put it up. And from there, being a member, if there's any data that can be collected and passed on provincially or to research, that's where our nominal fee comes in to aid in that. So if they've got information that can go to the University of Calgary for something, it helps better it in that way. But I don't think it has any direct relation on the town of Claresholm other than there being a box on a wall.
Okay. So I guess the next question is the CRAS report in itself. I'm hoping that this email on June the 22nd was put on the council's agenda for the August 22nd to be transparent to the people in the community, because I'm hoping that there's people in the community that look at the correspondence that's going to be addressed at the next council meeting. So if I can read this email that the CRAS had sent to the council. It said, "Hello, CRAS members. We are so proud to release the Air Quality Management Toolkit for municipalities to our members. The purpose of this toolkit is helping municipalities develop local air quality management plans and take actions aligned with the provincial and federal policies, laws, regulations, and standards to address local air quality issues, illustrating and know the potential social, economic, and ecological benefits of the air quality management, and to provide examples of local air quality management policies, bylaws, and activities." Please note, it says, this toolkit is for the use of CRAS members only. So please respect the work done by these volunteers on the CRAS Policy and Research Committee by utilizing it internally only. Yet, the CRAS documentation of the 72 pages was made available to me on the council's agenda, online, so I could review it. I take it seriously and I review the 72 pages. Within the 72 pages of that, you'll have a copy of the document there. It says on page 22, how to avoid, manage, and reduce your air quality in your local community. One of them is to avoid, prevent emissions from occurring. Well, if we got problems with our sensors picking up the traffic going by here, that it's going to be fuel problems. We won't have a highway. It'll justify somebody, provincial and federal, to get rid of the highway because it's causing the city problems. And we don't want the highway to go around us. Trust me, we don't. Second of all, it says, an example, prohibit the use of wood-burning stoves and regulate idling. Well, a lot of rural people have wood-burning stoves. I phoned our insurance company, AMA, and they said that they're not aware of anybody putting this in yet, but if a bylaw did, I would not be able to insure my house with a wood-burning stove anymore. So it's impacting us because the town has a membership with CRAS, has had it in 2022 and 2023. So I'm curious, like, who went ahead and got a membership with CRAS when at that meeting, we were just, on the June 22nd meeting, we were just being told that we weren't going to be part of this big thing, maybe a trial to have the little sensors put up. But other than that, we're not doing much with it. But once you become a member of it, are you not sort of accepting the toolkit that they said? And it bothers me that this volunteer group said, don't share it with anybody. I'm hoping that this council did, for transparency purposes, share it with us. And, or was it just an administrative mistake that nobody read that bottom line? Don't share it with anybody else but you guys. But when it impacts our personal property, and it will, a lot of these air quality things do impact personal property, whether you have a semi over parked across the thing that they're sleeping in at the end of the thing, the policing will have to take care of that if it's causing us air quality control. It's just the start. It's just the start of, how can I say, like, why did Claresholm initiate a membership with CRAS? Can anybody answer that question? Like, why did we pay for it, and is it on trial?
It is a membership that we've paid for. Yes, absolutely. It is information that is beneficial to the region. Just because they offer a 72-page toolkit doesn't mean that the town is interested in using it. And quite literally, we looked at it and went, A, how to administer anything? B, is it something that we have interest in? No. So yes, then you're absolutely right. It is there and it is available to use. To my understanding and administration, we've basically said, that's great. We're more interested about being part of a community that allows for research information and basic sampling to happen. That's it. That's all.
So there was never a motion passed?
There was never a motion passed. Council never directed administration to look into the report any further. And I can honestly say that no members of the council have come to me and said, hey, let's like outside of the council meeting have said, hey, let's look into A, B, and C. We do have a community representative, a volunteer who sits on this CRAS board. And as Councillor Carlson said, really the purpose here was to support this air quality group, the Airshed, the region. They do collect data on our air quality. A few moments ago, I pulled up on the screen. You can see, go to purpleairmonitor.com. You can see them all. And so council thought it would be a good contribution to the larger region to collect data. There's lots of information. I'm sure you've been on their website, Rose.
Yeah.
As council felt, they are stewards of the environment and can do their part. And that's really as far as it's gotten at this point.
So, well, it says these sensors currently can't be used for official pollution statistics and data, and nobody had concern over that? That wasn't the company we should be using the low-cost sensors from? That's my question also. And especially when the executive director said this is to be used internally only. That sends up red flags for me. And
can I ask a question, Rosa? I just wondering why that sends red flags for you.
Because we're supposed to be transparent. When it affects personal property of people and rural communities, when this is a Calgary airshed zone, totally different. Calgary's airshed reflects totally different numbers than rural does.
I guess, Sorry, this delegation to council, I'm just trying to get to the concern here. But does it make you suspicious of their intentions?
Yeah, well, as I said in my final statement on here, it says, I recognize this air quality management as a data collection tool that has potential for misuse of statistics and data that create false narratives around a topic. We all know where climate change is going. There's so much information being gathered to suit the narrative, to suit that, we have carbon tax credits too. And don't forget, this is the same provincial, federal government wanting to prohibit the use of wood-burning stoves and your little campfires outside with wood burning, and at the Willow Creek campgrounds. There will be directives on top of that, because the MD is involved in this also. I'm not sure what the length of conversation is about that with them, but it should be brought up. But be reminded that these stats are being, and strategies are being consideration by the same government that initiated the carbon tax from your natural gas that you heat your homes with. It says as a priority there to prohibit wood-burning stoves. It's my right as a woman and a homeowner to set up a safety system for myself in the winters of Alberta, very cold seasons, to be able to protect myself and not rely on somebody else to take care of myself. So my concern is the consideration to reference this CRAS toolkit was there. You signed up for a membership. You've been gathering data and sending it out on behalf of Claresholm. Facebook has, town council from Facebook has responded accordingly. So naturally, anybody would think you have a policy in regards to how you're going to respond to air quality testing. And that's what my concern is. At the time, the council was given the opportunity to make a motion, and there was no motion, and I hadn't seen any language since, except for these warnings, to be fearful of the air in Claresholm. Not saying it's going to rotate over in 15 minutes, because that's what it does in southern Alberta. So why is this a trial, and you're going to at some point in the future?
Councillor Meister?
It's been said by Councillor Carlson and by Abe that it's a tool in our toolkit. I don't know if the other councillors use it, but I check it daily, sometimes more than once a day. The day that it hit 4:30, it was 500 in Calgary earlier in that day, and it moved. It moved hourly, so it changed. It's just a tool. If you want to check the number in the morning, like yesterday I woke up, there was a special air quality statement. It said 44. I was like, well, that's nothing. An hour later, it was 187, and I knew to stay inside and stop my weeding. Today, same thing, special air quality statement. It was only at 89. I didn't feel that I should stay inside. But the membership costs about 10 cents per resident per year, and you're talking about the highway causing pollution. 70% of pollution is from vehicles. There's no concern there. I check it every day. The numbers are low, and until the numbers become consistently high, there would be no reason for us to use it internally to create any bylaws or any kind of thing to govern you harder. That's not our intention. It's to collect data. Whoever is using it is using it. If you're free to check it as often as you like, it's just another tool in the toolkit.
Yeah,
It's like I
that's
have a
very-
drill
yeah,
at home.
yeah.
I only use it once in a while, but when I need it, it's there. So it's,
So given the information that you provided to me, would that be something that you would put in a policy for the town of Claresholm in regards to air quality?
until there's a problem with the air quality, there's no reason to put it into a policy. Do you want us to ban wood-burning stoves? We're not anywhere near that. Our air quality is great being here in Claresholm, and to add our data to that, to everybody else's data, it just makes the statistics more reliable. So it's,
I know you mentioned it as a toolkit, but on page 45, it says right here, health and welfare bylaws in regards to the
we don't have
toolkit.
those, and you're implying that we do, and you're creating the false narrative as we speak. We're not trying to do that. We have no intentions of doing that until it becomes a concern. There is no concern with our air quality here, except for the days of the wildfire when we hit 4:30. If you didn't realize it was the wildfire, you didn't go outside. Like, it was very clear that it was smoke in the air that day. And even some days with the feedlot, it usually hits about 60, which is still good air. So it's just aroma, it's not particulate in the air.
So becoming a member of this thing is not implicating that you're somewhat in favor of addressing the toolkit?
Becoming a member means that we've aided in the ability for them to collect some data.
Yeah.
It is not intended to create a degree of fear within the residents. It is not intended to limit residents in any way, shape, or form on how they heat their home or if they have a campfire. It does provide a little bit of information for people that are affected by air quality, by health, and for the greater good of the entire region as far as what information they've collected, Rose. Past that point, you have no fear of what the town plans to do with that information because they literally have zero plans to do anything else above that.
Good.
And I hope that,
Sorry, your time's up, Rose.
Yeah.
Okay,
One more thing,
thank you.
just to make you aware. Within the tool, it says, these are enforceable through Alberta's court processes. So it's nothing to ignore.
That would be the
The tool-
provincial government.
The tool was provided with the email to the council. They provided at that time, they were taken for information. But just to make you aware, we do have these on our buildings, and they are collecting data on the town of Claresholm. And so I'm glad I had this information given to me from you tonight to clarify that there hasn't been discussion in regards to collecting data, what you're doing with it, but I still have a issue with, Claresholm is on there as a problem area, but we have nobody to reference. And to what do we do about this problem? Do we wait 15 minutes?
One
So-
day we were a problem area. in the whole-
Time up.
The whole
Good.
province.
Okay.
Time.
Good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Rose, I'd be happy to talk with you in the future about this and answer some more questions.
Okay, correspondence. Abe,
So we have resignation from the former mayor, Chelsea Petrovic, correspondence item on the agenda. Just saying that she was resigning due to her successful provincial election, becoming the MLA of Livingston McLeod. If council sees fit, we could have a motion to accept the resignation, or we can just move on.
information. Okay, number 2, correspondence, Land and Property Rights Tribunal. Abe,
So, council, as you know, we are in the process of annexing some property on the west of town. Our planners have been working with MD Planners and the landowner whose land we're in the process of annexing. Submitted recently an application for that. That application goes to the Land and Property Rights Tribunal. And this is just acknowledgement of the receipt of the application and the next steps for the tribunal, which would be potentially a public hearing. However, if they don't receive any written complaints, any formal complaints, they will actually proceed without that public hearing and provide a recommendation on the annexation to the province.
correspondence, Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council.
Council has here invitation from the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Alberta Provincial Council, to celebrate Ukrainian culture on August 20th, 2023, called Ukrainian Day. And the event is held up in Lacombe County, I believe. And there's some sponsorship and celebration recognition opportunities that they've included in the agenda. Council's normal stance is to not actually recognize any specific days. But that is there for your consideration, Council.
take it for information. Correspondence, Willow Creek Agricultural Society. Abe.
Yeah, so the Willow Creek Ag Society is looking for, looking for a donation for their Stage 3 of their West Agriplex indoor riding arena. So they completed Stage 1 in 2020, and looks like they are going to complete Stage 2 in 2023, and they will be applying to provincial funding for assistance on Stage 3 shortly here. In a few days, I believe the deadline is. You'll notice, Council, that this request did come through a few months ago. It actually got lost administratively, and I have to apologize to the Ag Society for that. But Stage 3, a little bit of information about their building. Is a front-end addition to the building, includes washrooms, event office space, meeting space, maintenance storage room, concession, and horse washing bay. And they believe that the completion of this building and this stage will allow them to be more competitive with their events and their hosting capabilities. So they are looking for $200,000 to assist from the town. Again, that would be some matching funding. So they've completed the town's grant application process here. Council has already agreed to match some additional funds for the community center. If you recall, there is some money earmarked for some matching funding for that community center renovation. They agreed recently to an additional 125-ish contribution that should the community center be successful. So that money, if they are successful, still needs to be found in the budget for next year. And so this would be the same process here, that these funds would also have to be found in the capital budget for next year.
Councillor Cutler.
In the letter too, it also says that they're okay with breaking it up over $450,000 donations. Is that correct, over the next 4 years?
Yes, that's correct.
Questions? Discussion?
I think we're going to, the only tough part is they need an answer by June 15th. Is that correct, or 23rd?
Yeah, I believe that's the application deadline.
The only thing I'd like to say about the whole process is Willow Creek Agricultural Society has done a lot on its own within the community. This is the first time we've ever come to town looking for supports for their upgrades. They do make it very noticeable in there that, they do bring a lot of people to this town. They do a lot of events throughout the year. They have been a self-sufficient process. I'd really be disappointed if we weren't able to help them out in some way to help make sure that the success of completing that building. Now, $200,000 is a lot of money to come up with, but $50,000 a year for the next 4 years is something that I could see feasible to find somewhere. But again, I'd hate to see them not get the support for finishing this project.
Any other discussion? Councillor Kettles.
This application doesn't mention other partners that they've approached. And seeing as it's been dated quite a bit ago, and I'm just wondering if we have any sense, are we the only people that are asking for cash, or was there a similar request went out to the MD, and I don't think anybody has those answers because it's not apparent in the document, but it's a question that sits in my mind at least.
I don't have the answer for that. It does look like the Stage 3 is $1 million, and they're requesting $200,000 from the town. So I think the funding from the province they're looking for is $500,000. So there does seem to be some extra that they would need for that.
Discussion? Question?
Sure would be nice to have more days and ability for them to have a conversation with us, but, I don't know.
Somebody sits on that committee right now,
So-
the last couple meetings?
I sit on that committee, literally just been there for the
Yeah.
two, and most of this was discussed previously. I know they're looking for the funds. I'm not sure if they've got the ask out to the MD as well. I know there was talk of that. But like you said, Mike, trying to find the 50 over 4 is worthwhile. And from there, if the MD hasn't ponied up, maybe there's a discussion we can have between administrations on that to see if we couldn't help each other out to aid the Agriplex in actually making that happen. Do a cost sharing on it. And that's pending that they actually get that approval. I know
Right, that's the other
large stream funding right now is challenging, and I know there was some comments thrown around the table at the last meeting that we'd be very, very happy if it came, but we're not going to be surprised if it doesn't.
You can't get it if you don't ask for it.
That's exactly it. And I think if we can aid in that ask, I'm sure we can find something somewhere in order to make it happen. We do aid in many other situations.
Councillor Cutler.
So yeah, I agree totally with the idea around the fact that it'd be nice to have more information on a decision like this. Sitting on that board for 3 years beforehand, the work and the effort they go through, they look for every dime they can, they ask for every dime they can from it. And I mean, $3.5 million to go into a building that they've done very well. So it's with no doubt that they're seeking the proper support and they're asking the right people. So I'm going to make a motion that we look at the 4 years, $50,000 a year, with the idea that they do get approved for the loan, and we'll look at it in a future budget discussion as we move ahead for future years' budgets.
Councillor Cutler's made that motion. What, which motion?
Okay, so what I have, and you can tell me if this is what you wanted. Moved by Councillor Cutler to support the Willow Creek Agricultural Society with a donation of $50,000 each year for the next 4 years to fund Stage 3 at the West Agriplex Indoor Riding Arena, provided that they are successful in their application for funds from the CFIP large funding stream.
I think that's pretty much exactly what I said, Ken, so you did a good job.
Well, the only thing that confused me is you said something about talking about it in.
Well, no, it's just the next 4 years we'll do that at the budget discussions, right? That's all. So that's exactly $50,000 for the next 4 years.
So when we say the next 4 years, are we talking about, like, should we have in there something about starting in 2024? Like, next 4 years, does that mean 4 years starting 2023, or are you thinking about next year? Like, I
Well,
just.
if the
I don't know.
application doesn't go until June, they're not going to find out till, so, yeah, they're not
Okay,
going to find out until
so
2024.
it's not necessary to have
No.
that in there then. Okay.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to support the Willow Creek Agricultural Society with a donation of $50,000 each year for the next 4 years to fund Stage 3 of the West Agriplex Indoor Riding Arena, provided that they are successful in their application for funds from the CFIP large funding stream.
Councillor Kettles.
Just for clarification in my mind, and I should probably know this, the ownership of the building legally lies with the town of Claresholm?
The ownership of the land lies with the town. The building itself is not the town's.
It belongs to the society.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Approved. Okay. Request for donations to the Grantham District Canada Day Society. Abe?
So council has received another request for donation. This is the Grantham District Canada Day Society. They are looking for contribution towards their fireworks on Canada Day. They're requesting $500 towards their fireworks show. And they have completed the application for donation. The guidelines of the policy do state that grant funds should be earmarked for town groups located within the town of Claresholm. However, there is also a statement at the end of the policy that says council can consider offering assistance outside of the scope of the policy. So it's really your decision to make, council.
Councillor Meister?
I think a few years ago, we made an arrangement with Grantham that we would have the Winterfest fireworks and they would have the Canada Day fireworks, and I believe they support us partially financially when we do ours as well. And I think under those circumstances and just in collaboration for the community and the area, I would like to make the motion to support donating the $500.
Councillor Cutler?
I was going to say the exact same thing, that we've moved our fireworks from July 1st to Winterfest. But I thought the understanding was with the Willow Creek MD and everybody else putting there that was part of our intermunicipal collaborative framework process, that the MD would be supporting each small town in the fireworks and festivities. So I don't believe we do receive funding from them in regards to our fireworks at Winterfest. So I think the mutual acknowledgement that we each have our own fireworks is where it should stay.
Sorry for my
Any other
mistake.
comments, questions? We have a motion on the table. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to support the Grantham and District Canada Day Society with a donation of $500 for their Canada Day fireworks.
All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Request for decision, Claresholm Golf Club tax waiver request. Abe?
So there is a request for a waiver of the, or cancellation of the municipal portion of the property taxes levied at the golf course. You can see there, council, historically, this is a standard practice that we see on the council agenda every year dating back to 2015. If council was to cancel the municipal portion of the taxes this year, it would be $3,770.68.
Questions, concerns? Councillor Kettles?
I'll make that motion, please.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to cancel the municipal portion of the 2023 property taxes levied on the golf course, roll number 1163000, in the amount of $3,770.68.
All in favor? Approved. Request for decision, Royal Canadian Legion tax waiver request. Abe?
Very similar to the last request, council. This one dates back to 2012. Council has forgiven or canceled the municipal portion of the taxes for the Legion. And again, council generally will do this for this group or golf course, and you'll see shortly we have another request. groups that provide a service and enrich the community. Council is generally in favor of doing that because of their contributions to the community. So that's the amount of taxes that the Legion is requesting for cancellation this year is $1,317.96.
Counselor Cutler.
I'll make that motion to move forward.
Questions? Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to cancel the municipal portion of the 2023 property taxes levied on the property located at 414 53rd Avenue East in the amount of $1,337.19.
All in favor? Approved. Request for decision, community curling club tax waiver request. Abe.
So the curling club is requesting cancellation of their municipal portion of their taxes for the year. Council has done this since 2015. For 2023, the request is for $1,183.34.
Motion, please.
I can make that motion.
Counselor Carlson. Question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to cancel the municipal portion of the 2023 property taxes levied on the property located at 430 53rd Avenue East in the amount of $1,183.34.
All in favor? Approved. Request for decision, community center structural assessment. Abe.
The Community Hall Board approached administration a few weeks back, looking for some quotes on a structural assessment of the building. The building is over 50 years old, and the Community Hall Board has found it increasingly challenging as it is aging, to stay on top of renovations and to understand what comes next. A structural assessment would provide them with potentially a 10-year a 10-year schedule. It would identify the major mechanical, structural components of the hall, and it would provide some probable costs, and again, a 10-year schedule of when those components need to be replaced. We know that the Community Hall Board is actively pursuing grant funding to complete renovations on the Community Hall, and we do feel that this would be a good tool to assist them in just managing that aging building. So administration reached out, and we got several quotes from local engineering groups, ones that we've worked with, all great groups. We did review the quotes, and we felt that WSP had the best proposal, in as much as they considered all capital expenditures exceeding an annual threshold cost of $5,000 for the next 10 years. They proposed to identify any red flag issues, as well as discretionary projects as well, and then just explanations and justifications of recommendations. Their proposed cost for this work is $5,500, and administration is suggesting that comes out of the town's recreational capital reserve, which as of 2022 had a year-end balance of $25,612.
Discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I make the motion that we accept the WSP. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to award the Community Center Structural Assessment to WSP Engineering at a projected cost of $5,500, with the project to be funded from the town's Recreation Capital Reserve Fund.
All in favor? Approved. Request for decision, 2023 parades. Abe?
Yeah, every year we, council sends the town float on parades, and it is getting to planning season right now. I think normally we would have received a few additional requests, Corinne. But nonetheless, we know we will get some of these requests. They just haven't arrived yet. And so we've proposed a schedule here to visit Grantham on July 1st, Nanton on August 7th, of course, Claresholm on August 12th, Pincher Creek on August 19th, and November 25th, the Fort Macleod Santa Claus Parade. Sometimes council considers additional requests when communities have special celebrations that don't happen too often. Hard to anticipate which ones we'll be getting this year. I think last year we did Stavely, did we not?
Stavely's only every 5 years.
Every 5 years, yeah. We did get one for Longview in the past. That's been a bit too much of a journey for our float.
It's too far.
But thoughts, comments, questions?
Looks good. Motion?
We missed Spock days.
Yeah.
Must not have gotten
It's done.
invitation for Spock
It's,
days.
yeah, it's just, some of them are a little far, and if it's not like say a 100th anniversary or something
Yeah.
like that, it's a little far.
I'll make a motion that we accept the 2023 parade schedule.
Put them in your calendar.
Nope. Just make the motion.
Question.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to accept the 2023 parade schedule as presented.
All in favor? Approved. Request for decision, by-election. Abe?
Just learn to swallow, then breathe. Complicated some days, bud.
Okay, council, our trusty neighborhood returning officer has put a lot of work into some recommendations for the upcoming by-election that council has to hold in the vacancy created by our former mayors moving on to provincial politics. So I'm going to turn it over to Corinne. She's going to walk you through the RFD.
Okay, so hopefully you guys had a chance to kind of read this over, and if there's anything that doesn't make sense, please let me know. I've tried to be pretty clear about this. So I've been in contact with municipal affairs ever since Mayor Petrovic was up for the UCP nomination, so I was kind of prepared for how this would all play out. Now, her resignation was effective as of May 30th, which was the day after the provincial election. And they actually made changes, so the Local Authorities Elections Act, actually, it used to say, actually, the MGA, the Municipal Government Act, used to say that it was not, we had 90 days to fill that position. They did change that within the last few years to 120, which is perfect for us, because I think you guys maybe are of the same opinion. I think having an election anytime in the summer is going to be a bad idea. It's hard enough to get voter turnout as it is. Our by-election last time when Councillor Cutler was elected, we had a decent turnout. It was maybe 35% or something like that, but we'd like to get it closer to 50 if we can. So I'd like to stretch it as long as we can. Not that I don't want to do the by-election, because of course it would be nice to get it out of the way. However, I think for our purposes, I think it's better to wait. So I'm proposing that we have the by-election on Monday, September 18th. And the reason that is because typically in Canada, I mean, really our elections are held on a Monday. I don't really think it would I think it would confuse people if you tried to say you're going to have it on a different day of the week. And in September, there's Labor Day, and the two other Mondays are going to be regular council meeting dates. I don't think there's any reason to change those. And with 120 days from May 30th, we have until September 27th to actually have that by-election. It is possible, if you guys feel that there's a reason, we could extend it into October, but we'd have to get municipal approval. We'd have to get approval from the minister to actually do that. But it is possible if you had thoughts about that at all. So that's the first thing. So once you actually set the date for the by-election by motion, then nomination day becomes set as well, because nomination day is 4 weeks prior to election day, which would be Monday, August the 21st. That's another change that they made, so we all, you're aware from the last election, we will actually be able to start, once you make this motion, we can start accepting nominations tomorrow, and the nomination period goes right through until noon on nomination day. So we have any time between tomorrow and August 21st at noon to actually submit your nomination papers. Okay. So the next part is if any of you, any of members of council wishes to put their name forward for mayor, you have to resign your position of councillor first, and that's per the Local Authorities Elections Act. You have to resign 18 days or more prior to nomination day. So that would be August the 3rd. I am requesting, or administration is requesting, that if you wish to resign and put your name forward for mayor, that we are asking, if possible, if you can resign prior to the July 17th regular council meeting. Now, I mean, it's not that you have to, but we're requesting that because we're trying to be fiscally responsible. We have done we've done a by-election. We did a by-election in 2018. We did the voted electors in 2019, so we have done these before. It's not ideal, but we can do them. And so to be fiscally responsible and also to not fatigue our voters, I think it's a better idea if that's going to happen, it would be good to have the councillor election, by-election, and the mayoral election on the same day, if possible. So in order for it to make sense, we're just requesting that. And you don't have to make the motion, it's just a proposed motion, but we are just saying by 4 o'clock on Thursday, July 13th, so that it can be included on the council agenda for the July 17th regular meeting. So, and then, yeah, and that's just, it's just to meet timelines. Okay, it's just so that we can, it's all legislated and we just want to make sure we follow all the rules. That way we won't have to have a special meeting. We don't have to do anything extra. We don't have an extra by-election day, all those things. Sorry, Rod.
What are our rules on quorum? Because if there was multiple people wanting to do that and everybody's resigned, suddenly we don't have enough to hold meetings. So what does that actually look like?
So we've spoken to municipal affairs about that. So if 3 or more members of council resign to run for mayor, then that does become an issue because then we no longer have quorum. You need 4 to have quorum. If that should happen, then we can actually go to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, who is Rick McIver. We've actually had him before. And we would approach the minister and say, okay, this is what's happening. We are having a by-election in September. We need to continue to operate. And we can actually get ministerial approval in order to operate with just 3 members of council until the by-election. Because really, municipal affairs does not want to take over operating the town of Claresholm. They want us to continue to do our business. They want us to continue to operate, so.
If all of you submit papers, then all bets are off, though.
Yeah.
We have no answer, we have no answer. We didn't look that far ahead.
Can we get Rick?
Yeah.
Is that their
Yes.
options?
No, we get Abe.
So,
My guess is administration would function. We have legislation in place to allow us to function. That would be my guess, if it came to that.
but yes, we did think about that, so we did ask that question. And then the rest of the motions are just basically housekeeping motions. So the first one is about the advanced poll. So last time we had the advanced poll, the Thursday prior to the election day. And I found I had lots of comments from the community where it wasn't early enough. There's people that want to leave, earlier in the month or early, whatever. And then when I looked at booking the community center for that day, there's a meeting on the Thursday night, so I thought, let's have it right at the beginning of the month on a Wednesday night. And then that way, hopefully, anybody who's a trucker or there's people that are going vacation or whatever, they can get in and vote early if they like. So that's why we're proposing Wednesday, September the 6th for that. And then the next one is the institutional vote. So just as in the last several elections, we'll go to all the same places, all the 6 locations, and have those polling stations for them so they don't have to go out. And if you're comfortable, I am prepared to do this again as returning officer, and Blair and Abe are willing to be deputy returning officers. So, and then just at the bottom, the cost of the by-election for councillor in 2018 was $3,400. The cost of the vote of the electors in 2019 was $4,700, and we're estimating $5,500. It shouldn't be any more than that, but I did up that expectation just because costs of everything seem to have gone up, so.
Thank you for that.
Questions? Concerns?
I'll make the first motion.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to hold a by-election for the position of mayor on Monday, September 18th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., with the polling station being at the Claresholm Community Center, located at 5920 8th Street West.
All in favor? Approved. Motion 2.
I will make a motion for the proposed resolution.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer that any current member of Claresholm Town Council who wishes to put their name forward for the position of mayor resign their position of councillor by 4 p.m. on Thursday, July 13th, 2023, in order to have sufficient time to set the date for a by-election for councillor for September 18th, 2023.
All in favor? Approved. Motion 3. Councilor Meister. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to hold the advance vote for the by-election on Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, from 2 till 8 p.m. at the Claresholm Community Center, located at 5920 8th Street West.
All in favor? Approved. Motion, Councilor Kettles. Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to hold an institutional vote for the by-election on Monday, September 18th, 2023, at the Claresholm General Hospital, Willow Creek Continuing Care Center, Porcupine Hills Lodge, Cottonwood Village, Heritage Manor, and Parkside Manor.
All in favor? Approved. Motion, Councilor Carlson. You're up, Corinne. Question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to appoint Corinne Keys as Chief Returning Officer and Abe Tinney and Blair Bullock as Deputy Returning Officers for the by-election.
All in favor? Approved. Financial report. Abe.
Yes, financial income statements as of April 30th for yours and the public's information. Any questions from council? If you don't have the answers, I'll find them for you and get back to you.
Questions, concerns?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consolidated income statement for April 30th, 2023.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended April 30th, 2023 as presented.
Information brief, Northern Regional Economic Development Grant.
Probably should vote.
Oh, what?
I get so silly after.
All in favor? Approved. Statement of Northern Regional Economic Development Grant. Abe.
Yeah, so Deputy Mayor Schlossberger requested that we get some information out to the public about the NRED grant. We have talked a little bit about this before, the Northern Regional Economic Development Grant, but we do have some updates for council and for the community on this. But essentially, the Northern Regional Economic Development Grant is going to provide the town with $52,000 to fund an area structure plan on the north west of town and to provide some consultation services for a broadband assessment of our business and industrial areas in town. So the administration has awarded the work for the ASP and for the broadband assessments. And so just information that to the public and to council that this work is delivering on council's strategic plan as it gets the area structure plan areas more development ready. And as well, in as much as we are researching broadband connectivity and internet services in town, definitely sees that as a potential stumbling blocks for commercial and industrial growth, and we're trying to stay on top of what kind of challenges our business community faces out there. And so this week we are actually going to be conducting surveys and connecting with our businesses in town to that end.
Questions? Information brief, strategic plan update. Abe?
Some updates for you on your strategic plan, council. Accountability piece for administration. Good information for the community on what kind of direction you provide administration and where we're at with it. Would take any questions that you have for us.
Questions, concerns? Information brief, council committee reports. Anybody want to add?
Thank you, Councilor Meister.
Oh, you're welcome.
Information brief, council resolution status. Questions, concerns?
Good. Sorry? All looks good.
Motion for acceptance of information items. Councillor Carlson. Question.
Moved by Councillor Carlson to adopt the information items as presented.
All in favor? Approved. Motion to go in camera. Councillor Kettles. Question?
Moved by Councillor Kettles to go in camera at 8:49 PM for the following items. A, advice from officials for section 24.
All in favor? Approved. Camera off, please. Motion to come out of in camera.
I'll make the motion to come out of it, camera.
Thank you. Question?
Moved by Councillor Meister to come out of in camera at 9:52 PM.
All in favor? Approved. Motion.
I'd like to make a motion to direct the administration for public engagement.
Question?
Moved by Counselor Cutler to direct administration to prepare a public participation plan as discussed in closed session.
All in favor? Approve. Motion to adjourn. Counselor Carlson. We are adjourned. Camera off.